100,000 pieces of evidence were examined from just 13 phones. As Elizabeth Vargas first reported in 2013, it was a frightening example of how teenagers live their lives online and can ruin lives in the process.
March 2013, a swift verdict in a trial that split a small town in middle America.
Both of the defendants are guilty.
Emotional apologies, too little, too late.
I'm sorry to put you guys through this.
Now, new voices and new knowledge. The events of one night casting a white-hot spotlight on a crisis in America.
This is not just a Steubenville problem. This is a nationwide problem.
Sex crimes being recorded instead of reported.
Think about all the bystanders. I mean,
nobody tried to stop what was going on. Certainly nobody tried to help her.
Exactly. Decision-making is completely gone out the window.
You used the language that she was treated like a toy that night.
I'm not going to mince words. That's how she was treated.
The Steubenville, Ohio rape trial would expose the not-so-secret lives of teenagers in today's digital world.
Much of the case is focused on cell phone pictures
posted online.
Uncovered tweets. Shocking tweets.
An underground of lurid texts and tweets. High school students posting their own drunken, reckless, and criminal behavior online.
Without the social media, it never would have come to light.
You could not have prosecuted this.
Our victim wouldn't have known what happened to her.
It is social media, it's cyberbullying, it's sexual assault. Here it all is in sort of one perfect storm.
And for parents, a harsh lesson.
This experience for us has been like waking up in a nightmare.
It's a story for everybody who has kids in middle school, in high school, and in college. Those parties are taking place last night, they'll be taking place tonight, and people need to step up and learn from this.
Steubenville typically makes headlines for touchdowns, not trials. A football-frenzied town straight out of Friday Night Lights.
We're going to play fast. We're going to take what we can get, gentlemen. Do you understand me? Let's show them what we got.
Up until recently, Steubenville's claim to fame was being the birthplace of Dean Martin and former porn star Tracy Lords. In the middle of this once thriving, now struggling city of 18,000, nestled on the eastern border of Ohio, stands Harding Stadium, the crown jewel of this former steel town.
What is it like in this town on game day?
It's a very exciting time.
The fans are loud, the band's playing. It's a lot of hype.
Everyone's there at the stadium. It's packed.
People here say the fortunate few who make this elite high school squad with 9 state championships to its name aren't just players, they're demigods.
When you play football at Steubenville, people know your name. I mean, when you walk down the street, they see you and they know your name.
Names like quarterback Trent Mays and wide receiver Malik Richmond. Names now known for being at the center of this story, but they had been known as sophomore standouts on the team.
The games they're like college or pro games.
In an exclusive interview conducted before he was convicted of a heinous crime, Malik Richmond told me what it was like to pull on that big red jersey.
Lots of kids in town grow up hoping, wishing one day they could play for Big Red football. Were you one of those kids?
Yes, I was.
And then there's Trent. His father, Brian, a football coach, says there's football in his son's DNA.
He would sit in the stands with my wife watching the game, and he would ask her, how much longer till I can go out there? How many more years till I can go out there? One of his dreams since he was a kid was to play quarterback for Steubenville.
It was a dream that for these boys was coming true. In the waning days of summer, August 11th, 2012, Big Red has a scrimmage game. Malik and Trent are on the field.
It's a preview for what's coming up, you know. It's a
chance to scope out the talent.
Absolutely. We have promising athletes coming up. Let's see how they perform.
And Malik and Trent both put on impressive preseason performances.
How did the game go? Do you remember?
It was good. I had 2 touchdowns, and the fans were screaming and cheering, and I was just thinking, like, I just can't wait till the season to start.
For each of those touchdowns, the team mascot, Man o' War, breathes a 6-foot stream of fire into the night sky over Steubenville. But a very different firestorm is about to engulf Malik, Trent, the team, and the entire town. After that scrimmage, a raucous post-game party ensues in an unsupervised house, where apparently everyone's got a drink in one hand and a cell phone in the other.
Was there a lot of celebrating among the football team?
Yeah, we was really like discussing like we're going to win the state championship.
Joining in the revelry with Trent and Malik that night is a girl, 16 years old, an honor student and a soccer player from a high school across the river in West Virginia.
She had her arm wrapped around me and one hand like on my chest, and she was like, we were just talking.
The night begins with harmless high school flirting, but over the next several hours there will be drinking, party hopping, and terrible crimes committed. The shocking charges: the girl was sexually assaulted after she got too drunk to consent, while onlookers take cell phone pictures and videos of it all. And Malik and Trent are the two boys accused. 10 days after that night, the boys are arrested, accused of not having intercourse, but with penetrating the girl with their fingers while she was substantially impaired. By Ohio law, an act that constitutes rape. The victim says that she woke up the next morning in this room with no clothing on and no memory of what happened. Even her parents first learn about the assault through social media, where detectives say a treasure trove of digital evidence was left behind. Little do they know, someone else is also about to conduct an investigation of her own.
2 players were arrested for rape, and at that point I'm like, Big Red football players, this is big news in Steubenville.
Alexandria Goddard, a crime blogger who used to live in Steubenville, is determined to expose what happened. She starts digging. What she would uncover: degrading tweets, graphic photographs, and one appalling YouTube video would turn a local story into a national scandal.
She is so right now.
This is about to be on key.
She is dead.
Get on the phone and call the police. That's what you do when you know of a crime.
You don't make a...
No, you don't make a video of it and put it on YouTube where someone like me can find it.
When we come back, the shocking tapes Alexandria Goddard found.
I think the first one that I found was Some People Deserve to Get Peed On. And then tweeting the song of the night is Rape Me by Nirvana.
Could these teens really be capable of the crime?
That's not him. It's always been what I think everyone would consider a role model.
And charges of a cover-up emerge.
The town of Steubenville has been good at keeping this quiet and their star football team protected.
Stay with us.
It was a big night in Steubenville, a small town in Ohio, where the local high school football team had just won a preseason game. Members of the team and their fans were party hopping, and the alcohol was flowing freely. Among them, 2 boys on the football team and a 16-year-old girl, an honor student from a neighboring town. What happened that night would be captured in a series of images that millions of people would end up seeing. It would be impossible to forget. Once again, Elizabeth Vargas.
If every picture tells a story, prosecutors say this is one of humiliation and helplessness. An intoxicated girl in the clutches of 2 assailants, 16-year-old Malik Richmond and 17-year-old Trent Mays. It's one of many photos taken that night and circulating among the teenagers of Steubenville.
What did you think when you saw that?
I cried.
Why?
It's a very powerful image.
Within days of the incident, it is plucked off the internet by former Steubenville resident Alexandria Goddard, a crime blogger who makes a living sleuthing through social media. She becomes a crusader on a mission to reconstruct that night and uncover how a night of teenage revelry turned into rape.
I got all of the names of the football players, and then I just started looking on Twitter to see if they had accounts.
What kinds of tweets did you read?
I think the first one that I found was some people deserve to get peed on. And then tweeting the song of the night is Rape Me by Nirvana.
I can't imagine your reaction to that.
I was appalled. I was shocked to talk about somebody else like that. I think that was what disturbed me the most out of the entire thing, that these kids, it's like, where was their empathy to be able to feel for another human being?
And there are other tweets like, I have no sympathy for whores, and who's this sloppy drunk bitch? Goddard puts the offensive tweets on her blog. Then yet another appalling revelation.
I found that there was a video that had been uploaded with the tags drunk girl and rape. I knew that it was 12 minutes and 29 seconds, and I knew that Michael Nodianos was in that video.
And you knew Michael Nodianos was from Steubenville.
Yes.
And at the parties that night.
And one of their friends. And so I wanted to, like everyone else, what's on it?
The video shows the former Steubenville student callously joking about the incident.
That's like rape. It is rape.
Bro,
You know, you do it? Bro, they raped her.
This is the funniest thing I've ever
He
seen.
raped her harder than that cop raped Marcellus Wallace in Pulp Fiction.
Goddard's blog piques the interest of another social media watchdog, the mysterious hacker activist group Anonymous, known for its agenda of targeting injustice. It takes things a step further, posting the video online. It goes viral, and suddenly, Nodianos is anything but anonymous.
What if that was your daughter?
But it isn't. If that was my daughter, I wouldn't care. I'd just let her be dead. It isn't really rape because you don't know if she wanted to. She might have wanted to. That might have been her final wish.
I couldn't listen to it completely all the way through. It was just that upsetting. A room full of guys laughing about someone that they're stating she was raped.
Angry protesters flocked to the doorstep of the Steubenville courthouse during a preliminary hearing, demanding answers to why more boys who knew of the crime, some of whom witnessed it, have not been arrested.
We want justice! We want justice! Rape is not a sport! Justice for Jane Doe!
Some allege a cover-up, that the football-obsessed town went to great lengths to protect its athletes from punishment.
These boys are out walking around. I don't want that trash walking around where I live.
The group Anonymous posts its own video, warning anyone it believes involved with the alleged crime to be on notice.
The town of Steubenville has been good at keeping this quiet and their star football team protected. We will not sit idly by and watch a group of young men who turn to rape as a game or sport get the pass because of athletic ability and small-town luck.
This is a call to arms.
At the center of the storm, Trent Mays and Malik Richmond. Before they were tried and convicted, their families gave 2020 exclusive access to their homes, while the boys were under house arrest. The parents say the young men had been normal teenaged boys, never involved in anything criminal before. Linda Mays is Trent's mother.
People that know him know that that's not him. He's always been what I think everyone would consider a role model.
Even though I'm not Malik's mother, he knows how I feel about him.
For Malik, it's another twist in a life story seemingly ripped from a well-known movie script.
Do you have any place to stay tonight? Don't you dare lie to me. Come on.
Just as in the movie The Blind Side, Jennifer and Greg Agresta took in Malik to help him escape a youth defined by poverty and violence.
You had some rough times, didn't you?
Yes. One day we were all just sitting in my living room, and all you hear is a big gunshot, and the bullet flew past my cousin's head, and we all just hit the floor. And then my mom she called the police, and we were just laying on the floor until the police came. Basically, every house I lived in was the same exact thing. Get shot up.
Lots of gunfire?
Yeah.
His ticket out from bullets and broken homes was sports. At 8 years of age, Malik joined a Pee-wee football team. Greg Agresta was the coach.
He always caught my attention because he was very gifted at that time, much more than any other child. I said, this is a special kid. I'm going to do what I can to help him out.
The Agrestas took on legal custody of Malik for 2 years, until he was 10 years old. They have remained close ever since.
I was looking at your mantle over your shoulder at all the pictures of your family, and Malik is in all of those pictures, or many of them. I mean, was he really a member of your family?
Absolutely.
But The Blind Side meets Friday Night Lights now meets The Accused. Accused of raping a high school sophomore from across the river, a girl from a close-knit religious family.
The world only knows her as 16-year-old Jane Doe.
She's a nice girl. You'd want her as your daughter.
Two teens on the verge of a rape conviction, all because a camera's eye captured evidence that would help the prosecution build its case. Police retrace the steps of that drunken night, searching for clues, house by house, cell phone by cell phone, and for the first time, first-hand accounts from Malik and the witnesses. When we come back, what happened that night?
I could tell that she was gradually getting more drunk and worse throughout the night. That she couldn't walk.
A party out of control, a young girl who can't defend herself.
So she is isolated, she's alone, she is the most vulnerable because she's that intoxicated.
Stay with us.
At a post-football game party in Steubenville, Ohio, a teenage girl has gotten drunk. Onlookers have flooded the internet with images of her being taken advantage of by boys. The girl's parents have gone to the police and asked them to find out what happened that night. Once again, Elizabeth Vargas.
As police begin investigating the case against Malik Richmond and Trent Mays, they can't rely on the victim, 16-year-old Jane Doe, who has no memory of the assault. Instead, they parade a who's who of Steubenville teenagers in to be questioned about what really happened that fateful summer night. Among them are honor students and athletes, many of whom knew of the crime, some of whom even saw it, but none of whom thought to call authorities or a parent.
We needed their testimony. It was crucial.
Prosecutors say the night begins with this, a tweet from Trent early in the evening. Huge party, banger. The party is at this house, hosted by a 16-year-old girl. As many as 50 teenagers have gathered to celebrate the end of summer. There are no parents at home. Jane Doe knows Trent through mutual friends.
She had asked Trent to come to that party specifically.
Yes.
But Malik is meeting her for the first time.
Would you call it a wild party?
Yes.
Were people getting drunk?
Well, everybody was drinking, but I wouldn't say, like, drunk.
How much did you have to drink?
I had 4 beers, and then I was playing it, I played 4 games of beer pong.
So you had 4 beers in addition to the game of beer pong?
Yes.
Okay, so you had a lot of beer?
Yes.
Did you feel drunk?
No.
Tipsy?
Yeah.
Buzzed?
Buzzed, tipsy.
One person who witnesses agree is drunk is Jane Doe. She's had a red slushie spiked with vanilla vodka, a Smirnoff malt liquor, and several shots. Just after midnight, the host's 24-year-old brother comes home. He is a volunteer football coach at Big Red. He breaks up the party, sending drunken teenagers out into the night. He later tells police he did not see any intoxicated teens. In exclusive police interviews obtained by 2020, the teenage partiers recount what they remember. Jane Doe's best friend says she is determined to leave with Trent.
I went out and I tried to stop her. I was like, oh, you're not leaving with them. And she was like, no, I'm going with them, because she's done this before. I was like, she's not doing this again.
How did the victim seem to you?
Fine. She was just a little angry at her friends and telling her friends to leave her alone, and she's fine.
Even though she stopped drinking, the effects of the alcohol continue to worsen. Jane Doe gets into a car with Trent, Malik, and 2 other boys for the 10-minute drive to the house of another Big Red ball player.
I could tell that she was gradually getting more drunk and worse throughout the night. That she couldn't walk.
As soon as she arrives at the second house, Jane Doe goes to the bathroom and gets sick.
It is all Steubenville High School people.
Yeah.
The victim is from West Virginia.
So she is isolated, she's alone, she's the most vulnerable because she's that intoxicated.
At this house, the only opportunity for a parent to step in slips away when the mother at home says any teen not sleeping over has to leave. It is as they all leave that this infamous photo of Trent, Malik, and Jane Doe is taken.
How did that picture come to be taken?
Her ex-boyfriend said he wanted to get a picture of this drunk B.
How did she get into that position?
She was willing to get in the picture that way, man. We asked her, and that's when she said, yeah, it's fine.
What was she doing when you asked her that question?
She was just, like, laughing. We were all just talking, just clowning around.
Once again, concerned girls at this second house plead with Jane Doe not to leave with the boys, but they don't call for help.
She wanted to go to Trent, and, like, we just kept trying to tell her, you don't want to do this, you don't want to go with them, and I just let her do what she wanted, which I understand was wrong.
Now, outside the second house, a disturbing scene. Jane Doe sitting in the street, vomiting, surrounded by a group of laughing boys.
And she throws up on her blouse, and she takes her blouse off.
She took her blouse off?
Yes.
All by herself?
Yes.
Why did she take her blouse off?
Because she had threw up all over her blouse, and I gave her my jacket. There was a lot of people just around her, laughing.
Laughing?
Yes. Just laughing about her, like, throwing up and laying in the street.
The humiliation continues when a boy offers $3 to anyone who will urinate on her. A joke, he says, that nobody takes him up on.
I mean, I just kind of heard people all on.
And this is all on the street right outside this house?
Yes.
Where there is a parent home.
Correct.
Correct.
And nobody came out to the street to see what all the commotion was?
Nobody came out of the house to say, hey, what's going on? Nobody got her water. Nobody said, hey, I'll take her home. Let's get her home.
Instead, that same group get back into the car for another 10-minute drive to their final destination of the night, the home of yet another big red football player. Malik is in the front seat. Jane Doe and Trent are in the back.
Is there anything going on in the back seat?
The music was up, man, so I couldn't hear nothing.
Playing on the radio that night, a rap song called Way Too Gone.
I'm way too gone, what the f am I doing? Wake up in the morning, who the f am I?
An anthem for a night that has already gone way too far and is about to cross the line from crass to criminal.
While we were in the car, Trent asked me to make a video of him, and I did.
Of him fingering her? Yes.
Under Ohio law, Jane Doe has just been raped.
What was Trent doing?
Trent was rubbing on her breast, and she was kissing his neck, and then he was, like, trying to unbutton her pants.
Did she seem to be responsive at all?
No, she was just kissing on Trent's neck.
But so she wasn't unconscious?
No, ma'am.
Around 1:15 in the morning, the group arrives at the third house and heads to the basement, where Jane Doe gets sick yet again.
At that point, weren't you thinking she must be really drunk?
I really couldn't tell you.
So you weren't thinking that a girl who keeps repeatedly throwing up was pretty drunk?
No, because it's natural.
You see that a lot?
Yeah.
At parties?
Not just at parties. You see it everywhere. You can see that at a football game. You can see that at a concert. You can see that anywhere.
And even though other witnesses say that she looked way out of it, that she was stumbling and slurring her words, you never saw her stumbling and slurring?
No.
Ever? During
Ever.
that entire night?
No.
She was having problems with coordination, vomiting. She was very drunk, and they had to have known it.
Nevertheless, another sexual assault is about to occur, and this time witnesses say Malik goes from being a bystander to a participant.
What's the very first thing that happened when you got on the stairs?
And they started fingering her on the floor, and they were both fingering her.
On this issue, Malik's attorney would not allow him to comment.
What I'm saying is that nothing happened that evening non-consensual. There is no evidence to suggest that she was unconscious while laying there naked on that basement floor.
But other witnesses that night say she was very, very impaired, that she was stumbling, falling over. How is that not a heavily intoxicated girl?
No witness ever used the word impaired.
You don't think being drunk means being impaired?
Substantially impaired to the point where you can't consent is the issue.
But this witness tells police during the assault in the basement, the girl is unresponsive and that Trent takes nude photos of her, creating more digital evidence that will eventually lead to his conviction.
That's what I was trying to tell him. He needs to go to sleep, stop.
But it doesn't stop. That same teenager later tells police he takes out his phone, but instead of calling for help on his way out, he too takes pictures.
How many pictures did you take while you're at the house?
But there were 2.
Those pictures would eventually be deleted, but not before other boys see them, including Michael Nodianos, who reacts with that repulsive 12-minute rant.
She's at least a 14. She's deader than a doornail.
A video that was the tinderbox for the whole case, made by someone who would later tell police he wasn't even at the scene of the crime.
Are you there at all when she's in the house?
No. I've never met her before or anything in my life.
As the night finally comes to an end, the sexual assault may be over, but for Jane Doe, the verbal assault on social media is just beginning. Profane text messages, demeaning commentary, and Big Red's legendary coach gets called out of the locker room and into the interrogation room. What will he say?
Why are we waiting so late, guys?
Coming up, the trial of the 2 boys begins, and a surprise in the courtroom, a new, shocking photo.
She had never seen it. Nobody had sent it to her. We had never shown it to her.
Laying on the floor?
Yeah. Her reaction in the courtroom was all telling.
Stay with us.
An end of summer Sunday morning, the morning after. The 16-year-old girl wakes up in a strange house. The scene of the crime, a basement rec room, couches, a dollhouse, and other playthings, where boys not much more than children themselves used a girl like a toy. The 16-year-old who lives there later describes the morning to police.
And when I came back downstairs, they were all starting to wake up.
Okay.
And that's when she started to put her clothes back on. And
what was she saying when she was putting her clothes back on?
nothing really. I feel like she was still kind of drunk when she woke up.
How did she seem that morning when you guys all woke up?
She's fine. Just the only thing that she was really looking for was her phone.
Her phone's missing, her underwear are missing, her shoes are missing, her earrings are missing. She doesn't know where she's at. It's scary.
For the girl, something else is missing. The past 12 hours. The night before is a black hole. She finds out what happened when the whispering begins on the web.
In this case, the victim continued to suffer because she was really victimized in the social media.
The twist that makes every parent shudder, teenagers of Steubenville, including incredibly Trent Mays, exhibit not concern, but scorn. Passing pictures of Jane naked and motionless. One boy sends a text, "She looks dead." Another says, "You should have moved her around and gotten a better angle." Anne Choquette is the editor-in-chief of 17 magazine.
They live in a fishbowl on purpose. Every single thing that's happening all day long, they want to share it with their friends.
There's no filter.
There's no filter. And 99% of the time, it's harmless, fun stuff. But when it comes to that 1% where they're in a dangerous or scary situation or illegal situation, that's when we're in a real gray area.
We were not, perfect when we were in high school, but I think that social media and the internet has made it a much more dangerous game, easier to get caught.
Easier for something to blow up in your face.
Yeah.
Alerted to the online chatter about their daughter, Jane Doe's worried parents go to the police. As the incident draws increased attention, Mays tells a witness, "Listen, if she gets questioned, she was real drunk and we let her stay at your house and took care of her." In the days after, Jane has chilling text exchanges with Trent Mays. "Why were my clothes off?" she asks. "I was passed out. You should have protected me. Anyone with a heart would have tried to stop that." Trent tells her he is truly sorry, but he adds, like, I'm about to get kicked off my football team.
Many people have said that they were protected in this community for a while because of their status as members of this football team.
What happened that night, though, was not about football. What happened that night is about arrogance, disregard for other human beings.
Police tapes show Big Red football coach Reno Sokoch, a celebrity here, found out something had happened before the police did. He says he questioned the suspects at football practice that Monday.
And I said, did you rape her? They said no. I said, did you her? They said no. That was the end of it. That was it.
In a text, Trent tells one of the boys, I got Reno. He took care of it. Ain't gonna happen even if they did take it to court. Coach Reno says another player came to him before a preliminary hearing.
I said, just tell the truth. He said, I will. He said, and don't answer anything that they don't ask you. If they ask you, when did this start, you tell them when it started. If they ask you when, you know what I mean? I was trying to say, just answer the question and answer it as truthfully as you can.
When asked to comment, Coach Reno Sokoch told 2020 he looked forward to giving his version of events. But he said that must happen at the appropriate time. And what about that river of booze, the underage drinking?
Where are the adults? Where are the parents?
The whole story, as we've unraveled it and learned it, is just very disturbing. Where were the parents?
It's a wake-up call. It's an absolute wake-up call.
Many here saying the real question is what's going on everywhere with kids and cell phones and sex.
When you get your cell phone, it doesn't come with a user's manual. They think this sounds fun. Absolutely. It's hard enough to teach teenagers about consequences, but this is one place where the consequences can be really damaging.
So when was the first time you realized you were in trouble?
The night they came and arrested me.
What time was that?
It was 12:30 at night.
So you were in bed asleep?
Yes.
What went through your mind?
Well, I just remember my dad coming and waking me up and said the police is on their way. And I asked him when, and he said they're here right now and just put on some clothes. And then he let me come outside, and that's when they arrested me.
Put handcuffs on you?
Yes.
In court, all that technology becomes a double-edged sword. Jane Doe's attorney is Bob Fitzsimmons.
We only know something happened because of tweets and instant messages and cell phone pictures and videos that were taken that night.
It was these boys and their friends that actually created their own evidence against them. If it had not been for that, this crime may have gone unpunished.
A key factor the prosecutors must prove just how drunk Jane was.
How drunk do you have to be legally before you are unable to give consent?
By the law in Ohio, you have to be substantially impaired.
What does that mean, though?
The case law makes it clear that it's a reduction in one's ability to act or think. Clearly, in this case, we had that reduction in the ability to act or think by the time she gets to the second party, and they had to have known it.
The unforgettable moment in the trial. Jane takes the stand to relive a night she can't remember. And the prosecutors shocked their own witness, showing her a photograph recovered from Trent May's cell phone.
She had never seen it. Nobody had sent it to her. We had never shown it to her.
Laying on the floor?
Yeah. I mean, her reaction in the courtroom was all telling.
She burst into tears.
Right. Because it was degrading and humiliating, and to know that there's another picture out there.
The fast-moving trial seems to assure a speedy end to Steubenville's season of shame. When we come back, emotional apologies in the courtroom.
No picture should have been sent around, let alone even taken. I had no intention to do anything like that. I'm sorry to put you guys through this.
But would these tears move the victim's family? Stay with us.
The once obscure town of Steubenville, Ohio, has become famous. The trial for rape of two high school football stars and the revelation that teens texted and tweeted photos of the victim has shocked the public. And as the trial nears its end, people all over the country are waiting to hear the outcome. Once again, Elizabeth Vargas.
many of the things that we learned during this trial.
Before the verdict,
That our children were saying and doing.
before the first witness testified,
Were profane, were ugly, with alcohol consumption shown.
before the trial of Trent Mays and Malik Richmond ever began, the high school athletes charged with rape had already won their biggest courtroom victory.
Both of these defendants could have been tried in the adult court.
I mean, if they were adults, they'd be going for up to 11 years into Ohio's prisons. They've already gotten a huge break.
A huge break, but also their last. In a Steubenville courtroom, the verdict.
And it is the court's decision that both of the defendants are hereby adjudicated delinquent beyond a reasonable doubt on all 3 counts as charged. It's similar to a finding of guilty in the adult court.
It provokes an outpouring of emotion. After the verdict, before sentencing the boys, who are now felons, the judge gives them an opportunity to speak. Trent Mays makes no mention of the rape he's just been convicted of, instead apologizing for the photos.
I would truly like to apologize to our family, my family, and the community. No picture should have been sent around, let alone even taken.
Malik Richmond responds very differently.
I would like to apologize to you people. I had no intention to do anything like that. I'm sorry to put you guys through this. That is not.
His first instinct was, I want to speak to that family, and he apologized in a way, unless he's a great actor, you have to say it was genuine.
I watched the 2 boys in court, and it was actually hard. I could feel for them.
Jane Doe's attorney, Bob Fitzsimmons, says the girl's mother had planned to stay outside the courtroom during the verdict.
And when she saw what happened and the emotions with the 2 defendants, she actually wanted to come in because they were apologizing to her and the family, and she wanted to accept that.
Does she forgive him?
She does.
Only the prosecutors, it seems, were not moved.
The way we viewed the emotion, and we would have liked to have seen that on the night of August 12th. A little bit of compassion for another human being.
In the end, the judge sentenced Malik Richmond to 1 year for rape. Trent Mays got a year for rape and another year for those nude photos he took of Jane Doe. But in a city eager for closure, the healing will have to wait. Within hours of the verdict, Ohio Attorney General Mike DeWine jolts the community, announcing a grand jury will consider widening the case.
We cannot bring finality to this matter without the convening of a grand jury.
What are the chances other people will be, in fact, indicted in this whole sordid story?
I owe it to the Steubenville community really to get this over with as quickly as we can. But at the same time, I understand that the community has to feel that justice was done.
Are you going to look into charging parents with failing to supervise these kids?
I'm not going to say the parents will face charges. I'm not going to say they won't face charges.
But that does include the football coach.
That would include anybody who has had any information about what occurred that night.
The Ohio law seems pretty clear. If you know about a felony, you have an obligation, a duty to report it, right?
You have to actually have knowledge that this is a felony that is occurring.
So is it possible Trent Mays and Malik Richmond didn't even know they were committing rape? Is that why, in our pre-trial interview with sincerity in his voice, Richmond told me this?
I realized that I was doing wrong by drinking and partying, but I really I didn't rape anybody. I didn't witness a rape going on. And if I would have thought that somebody was being raped or anything like that, I would have stopped it.
Because that's been a lot of the criticism of the other boys in the case. Everybody was sort of laughing at her, but nobody was helping her.
I really just think that everybody was just had a few drinks in them and they wasn't really thinking the right way.
Nobody was thinking clearly?
Yes, I think everybody was just out of their minds.
That may be the most troubling revelation of the whole case. The idea that some kids today are awash in a pornified social media world with nude cell phone photos and explicit texting, and may no longer know where that line is between cool and crime.
All these boys' cell phones and some of the girls' cell phones contain pictures of girls and boys in various states of undress.
This is just part of teen culture these days. What teens don't understand